The rain falls steadily on the empty streets of Bardstown, Kentucky, creating dark puddles that reflect the amber glow of streetlights. It's 9:45 p.m. on September 19, 2007, and the small town sleeps peacefully, unaware that one of their own is about to disappear without a trace. Inside a modest two-story house on Maple Street, the phone rings once, twice, then falls silent. Linda Lopez, a 31-year-old elementary school teacher and devoted mother, has just made what would be her final phone call. The kitchen light remains on, casting long shadows across the linoleum floor. Her purse sits abandoned on the counter, her keys still hanging by the door. Her 6-year-old son sleeps soundly upstairs, clutching his favorite teddy bear, completely unaware that when he wakes up, his mother will be gone forever. The only sign of disturbance is the back door, standing slightly ajar, letting the cool September night creep into the house. By morning, Linda Lopez will have vanished into thin air, leaving behind only questions that will haunt this close-knit community for over a decade. Was she abducted by a stranger lurking in the shadows? Did someone she trusted lure her into the darkness? Or did Linda Lopez walk out of her life willingly, abandoning everything she held dear? Before we dive deeper into this chilling mystery, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this case will take us down a dark path of deception, heartbreak, and ultimately justice that no one saw coming. The truth about what happened to Linda Lopez is more shocking than anyone could have imagined. Tonight in this quiet Kentucky town, a loving mother becomes the center of one of the most baffling disappearances in the state's history. But as investigators will soon discover, sometimes the most dangerous predators hide in plain sight. A life interrupted. Linda Maria Lopez loves mornings. Every day at 6:30 a.m. sharp, she stands in her sunny yellow kitchen, humming softly while preparing breakfast for her son Miguel. The smell of cinnamon toast fills the house as she packs up his Spider-Man lunchbox, carefully tucking in a handwritten note that always makes him smile. "Have a super day, my superhero." Today's note reads, decorated with tiny hearts drawn in purple ink. At Bardstown Elementary, Linda's third-grade classroom bursts with color and life. Student artwork covers every wall, and her desk overflows with thank you cards from grateful parents. Mrs. Lopez makes learning fun. 8-year-old Sarah tells her mother. She does funny voices when she reads to us. Linda's colleagues describe her as the teacher who stays late to help struggling students, who remembers every child's birthday, who turns math lessons into games and makes science experiments feel like magic shows. After school, Linda picks up Miguel from her mother's house, just like every day for the past 3 years. They stop at Henderson's Market for groceries, where Mrs. Henderson always saves the freshest apples for them. Miguel needs his vitamins, Linda says with a laugh, ruffling his dark hair. They drive home singing along to the radio, Miguel's giggle filling the car as Linda deliberately messes up the lyrics to his favorite songs. September 19th starts like any other Wednesday. Linda teaches her students about the solar system, using a flashlight and painted styrofoam balls to show how Earth orbits the sun. During lunch, she calls her best friend Carmen Rodriguez to confirm their weekend plan. "Movie night at my place Saturday," Carmen remembers Linda saying. "I'll make that spinach dip you love." Nothing in Linda's voice suggests fear or worry. She sounds happy, excited about the weekend. But something changes as evening approaches. At 7:30 p.m., Linda's neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, sees her standing at her kitchen window, talking animatedly on the phone. 20 minutes later, Carmen's phone rings. It's Linda, but she sounds different, urgent, almost breathless. "Carmen, I need to tell you something important," Linda says, her voice barely above a whisper. "If something happens to me, promise you'll take care of Miguel. Promise me." "Linda, what are you talking about? You're scaring me," Carmen responds, but the line has already gone dead. At 9:45 p.m., Linda Lopez makes her final phone call, a brief, cryptic conversation that will haunt investigators for years. The recipient of that call will never speak publicly about what Linda said, but phone records show it lasted exactly 47 seconds. 47 seconds that somehow convinced Linda to leave her sleeping son and step into the rainy Kentucky night, never to return. Her final words to Carmen echo through the years. If something happens to me, but what did Linda know? Who was she afraid of? And why did she feel compelled to walk out into the darkness, leaving behind the most precious thing in her life? When morning brings terror, Thursday morning arrives gray and cold. Miguel Lopez wakes up at 7:15 a.m., padding downstairs in his dinosaur pajamas, expecting to find his mother making breakfast. Instead, he finds an empty kitchen, the coffee pot cold, yesterday's dishes still in the sink. "Mama?" he calls out, his small voice echoing through the house. "Mama, where are you?" Linda's mother, Rosa Martinez, arrives at 7:45 a.m., as planned to watch Miguel before school. She finds the front door unlocked, her daughter's purse on the counter, and her grandson sitting at the kitchen table, tears streaming down his face. "Hey, Abuela, I can't find Mama," Miguel whispers. "She didn't make my lunch." Rosa's hands shake as she searches the house. Linda's bed hasn't been slept in. Her car sits in the driveway, keys hanging by the door. Her cell phone lies abandoned on the kitchen counter, the battery dead. Most disturbing of all, the back door stands wide open, letting autumn leaves blow across the kitchen floor. Linda would never leave that door open. She's obsessive about home security, always double-checking locks before bed. By 8:30 a.m., Rosa calls the Bardstown Police Department. "My daughter is missing," she tells Officer Janet Mills, her voice breaking. She would never leave Miguel alone. "Something terrible has happened." Officer Mills takes the initial report, noting that Linda Lopez, 31, was last seen at approximately 9:45 p.m. the previous evening. Height, 5'4", weight, 25 pounds, long black hair, brown eyes, last wearing jeans and a red sweater. Carmen Rodriguez arrives within minutes of Rosa's panicked phone call. She tells police about Linda's strange call the night before, about the fear in her friend's voice. "She kept saying, 'If something happens to me,'" Carmen explains, wiping tears from her eyes. "Linda doesn't talk like that. She's always positive, always planning for the future. Someone scared her." By noon, word spreads through Bardstown like wildfire. Linda's fellow teachers at the elementary school learn that she never showed up for work, something that has never happened in her 5-year career. Principal David Hammond calls an emergency staff meeting. "Linda Lopez is missing," he announces to the stunned faculty. "We need to help her family in any way we can." The Henderson's Market becomes an impromptu command center as concerned neighbors gather to organize search parties. Mrs. Patterson, Linda's elderly neighbor, approaches Rosa with trembling hands. "I saw her on the phone last night," she whispers. She looked upset, kept pacing back and forth in her kitchen. "Around 9:30 I saw her go out the back door. I thought maybe she was taking out trash, but..." Her voice trails off as the implications sink in. As Thursday afternoon stretches into evening, Miguel asks the question that breaks everyone's heart. "When is Mama coming home?" Rosa holds him close, unable to provide the answer he desperately needs. Outside, search parties comb through the woods behind Linda's house, their flashlights cutting through the growing darkness. The same darkness that swallowed Linda Lopez just 24 hours earlier. The community mobilizes with remarkable speed, but an unsettling question hangs in the air. How does a devoted mother simply vanish from her own home? As night falls on Bardstown, everyone knows that time is running out. The first 48 hours are critical in missing person cases, and those precious hours are slipping away like sand through their fingers. The investigation begins. Detective Sarah Morgan arrives at the Lopez house on Friday morning, her experienced eyes immediately scanning for clues that might have been missed. At 42, Detective Morgan has worked dozens of missing person cases, but something about Linda's disappearance feels different. Too clean, too mysterious. Missing persons usually leave some trace, she tells Officer Mills. A note, a pattern of behavior, something. This feels wrong. The crime scene unit processes Linda's house methodically. They dust for fingerprints, collect DNA samples and photograph every room. In the kitchen, they find Linda's fingerprints on the phone, the counter and the back door handle. But they also find something else. A partial print on the doorframe that doesn't match Linda or any family member. The print is smudged, suggesting someone wearing gloves, but a small section shows ridge detail. Detective Morgan interviews Carmen Rodriguez first, focusing on that final phone call. "Tell me exactly what Linda said," she asks, her pen poised over her notepad. Carmen takes a shaky breath. "She said, Carmen, I need to tell you something important. If something happens to me, promise you'll take care of Miguel." When I asked what she was talking about, she just said, "Promise me," and hung up. The detective's next stop is Linda's workplace. Principal Hammond provides Linda's personnel file, revealing no disciplinary issues, no conflicts with coworkers, no signs of personal problems. "Linda is our star teacher," he explains. "Parents specifically request her. The kids adore her. If she didn't show up for work, something happened to her." Phone records from Linda's landline reveal her final call went to a number registered to Marcus Webb, a 34-year-old construction worker Linda dated briefly 2 years earlier. Detective Morgan drives to Webb's apartment on Oak Street, finding him working on his truck in the driveway. Webb, a muscular man with calloused hands and cautious eyes, agrees to speak with her.
"Yeah, Linda called me Wednesday night," Webb admits, wiping grease from his hands. "It was weird, actually. We hadn't talked in months. She sounded scared, said she needed to see me. Wanted to meet at Miller's Park." Miller's Park sits on the outskirts down surrounded by dense woods, the perfect place for a private conversation or something more sinister. "Did you meet her?" Detective Morgan asks, studying Webb's facial expressions. "I went to the park, but she never showed up," Webb claims. "Waited there for about an hour, then went home. I figured she changed her mind." His story sounds plausible, but Detective Morgan notices how his eyes dart away when he speaks, how his hands fidget with his truck keys. Webb agrees to a polygraph test, which he passes, but Detective Morgan knows polygraphs aren't foolproof. She orders surveillance on Webb, while pursuing other leads. The investigation expands to include Linda's ex-husband, Miguel's father, who lives in Louisville. Roberto Lopez provides an alibi. He was working a double shift at Ford Motor Company, verified by time cards and witnesses. By Sunday, the case takes on urgency as media attention grows. Local news stations broadcast Linda's photo, and tips begin pouring in. A gas station attendant thinks he saw Linda Thursday morning. A truck driver reports seeing a woman matching her description hitchhiking on highways. Each lead requires investigation. Each tip demands follow-up, but none provide the breakthrough Detective Morgan desperately needs. The forensics lab analyzes the mysterious fingerprint from Linda's doorframe, but the partial print isn't sufficient for identification through AFIS, the automated fingerprint database. Hair and fiber evidence from the house reveals nothing unusual. Linda's computer shows no signs of secret communications or hidden problems. "We're not giving up," Detective Morgan tells Rosa Martinez during a family briefing. "Missing persons cases can break open months or even years later. We'll keep working," but privately, she fears this case might join the growing number of unsolved disappearances that haunt law enforcement agencies across the country. When hope fades, 2 years pass, then 5, then 10. The missing posters of Linda Lopez, once plastered on every storefront window in Bardstown, fade and disappear, replaced by advertisements for local businesses and community events. The town moves on, as small towns do, but the Martinez family cannot. Every September 19th, Rosa Martinez organizes a memorial vigil in Bardstown's town square. The crowd grows smaller each year. In 2009, nearly 300 residents gather, holding candles and sharing memories of Linda. By 2015, only 30 people attend, mostly family members and Linda's closest friends. The local news coverage shrinks from 5-minute segments to brief mentions, then nothing at all. Miguel Lopez grows up without his mother, raised by his grandmother and carrying questions that have no answers. At 18, he's tall and lean like Linda, with her same expressive brown eyes and quick smile. But those who knew Linda see the sadness he carries, the empty space in his life that her disappearance created. "I dream about her sometimes," he tells Carmen Rodriguez during one of their regular coffee meetings. "In my dreams, she comes home and explains everything. She tells me why she had to leave." Rosa Martinez transforms her grief into action, founding the Linda Lopez Missing Persons Foundation in 2010.
The small nonprofit provides support for families of missing persons and funds search efforts for other cases. Rosa speaks at conferences, lobbies for improved investigation procedures, and maintains a website dedicated to Linda's case. Every year she posts the same message: "Linda, if you're out there, we love you. Come home." Detective Morgan, now a lieutenant, keeps Linda's case file on her desk. She reviews it monthly, looking for connections to new cases, hoping fresh eyes might spot something overlooked. In 2012, she reopens the investigation briefly when another woman disappears under similar circumstances in a neighboring county, but the cases prove unrelated. In 2016, she submits Linda's DNA profile to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, hoping it might match unidentified remains discovered somewhere else. The case produces several false hopes over the years. In 2011, a woman resembling Linda is spotted at a shopping mall in Tennessee, but surveillance footage proves it's not her. In 2014, human remains found in a wooded area near Lyreal generate headlines and renewed interest, but dental records rule out Linda. Each false lead reopens old wounds for the family. Marcus Webb moves away from Bardstown in 2010, unable to escape the suspicion that follows him despite passing the polygraph. Some residents always believed he knew more than he admitted about Linda's disappearance. Webb's departure generates rumors. Did he flee because he was guilty, or because living under a cloud of suspicion became unbearable? The investigation officially becomes a cold case in 2012, though Lieutenant Morgan never stops working it. She attends conferences on missing persons, studies advances in forensic science, and maintains contact with federal agencies. The FBI profile of Linda's disappearance suggests she was abducted by someone she knew, someone who convinced her to leave willingly before something went wrong. Carmen Rodriguez never stops believing Linda will come home. She keeps Linda's bedroom exactly as it was, dusting the furniture weekly and changing the sheets monthly. "Hope is all we have," she tells reporters during the 10th anniversary of Linda's disappearance. "Without hope, we have nothing." As 2017 arrives, Linda Lopez has been missing for nearly a decade. Her son is preparing for college, her mother has gray hair and walks with a cane, and the community has largely forgotten the young teacher who vanished on a rainy September night. The case file sits in a cabinet with dozens of other unsolved mysteries, waiting for the breakthrough that may never come. But sometimes, justice arrives when you least expect it. Breakthrough from the past. January 15, 2019. Detective Lieutenant Sarah Morgan's phone rings at 7:23 a.m., jarring her from sleep. On the other end, forensic genealogist Dr. Patricia Hoffman delivers news that will resurrect a cold case that has haunted Bardstown for over 11 years. The breakthrough comes through an unexpected source: genetic genealogy, the same technology that solved the Golden State Killer case. The partial fingerprint from Linda's doorframe, considered too incomplete for traditional identification, was enhanced using new digital technology and cross-referenced with expanded databases. The print belongs to James Patrick Donnelly, a 45-year-old maintenance worker at Bardstown Elementary School. Lieutenant Morgan's blood runs cold. Donnelly worked at Linda's school. He had access to her classroom, knew her schedule, and could have learned personal details about her life. More disturbing, Donnelly was questioned briefly during the original investigation, but was dismissed as a witness, not a suspect. He claimed he was fixing a broken heater in Linda's classroom the week before her disappearance, a story that explained why his fingerprints might be found in the school, but not why they were on her home's doorframe. The reinvestigation moves swiftly. Detective Morgan obtains a warrant for Donnelly's current address in Bloomfield, 20 miles from Bardstown. Surveillance begins immediately. Donnelly, now graying and heavy-set, works as a handyman for several local businesses. Neighbors describe him as quiet, reclusive, someone who keeps to himself. Computer forensics experts examined Donnelly's digital footprint going back to 2007. They discover he purchased a prepaid cell phone on September 18, 2007, one day before Linda's disappearance. The phone was used only once, to call Linda's landline at 9:43 p.m. on September 19, just 2 minutes before her final call to Marcus Webb. Phone company records confirm the call lasted 47 seconds. The timeline becomes clear. Donnelly called Linda, said something that terrified her enough to call Webb asking for help, then somehow convinced her to open her back door. What happened next remained a mystery, but investigators now had their prime suspect. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a behavioral psychologist specializing in predatory behavior, reviews Donnelly's background. His employment history shows a pattern: jobs that provided access to women and children, frequent relocations after brief periods, no long-term relationships. This profile suggests someone who stalks victims before acting, Dr. Walsh explains. He would have studied Linda's routines, learned her vulnerabilities. A search warrant for Donnelly's current residence yields disturbing evidence. Hidden in his basement, investigators find a box containing photographs of Linda taken with a telephoto lens, images of her leaving school, shopping at Henderson's Market, playing with Miguel in her backyard. The photos span several months before her disappearance, proving premeditation and stalking behavior. More shocking discoveries follow. Donnelly kept newspaper clippings about Linda's disappearance, printed copies of missing person flyers, and screenshots from the Linda Lopez Missing Persons Foundation website. In a journal dating back to 2007, he writes cryptically about watching The Pretty Teacher and waiting for the right moment. The evidence paints a picture of a predator who spent months planning Linda's abduction. As a school maintenance worker, Donnelly could observe Linda's habits, learn her schedule, and identify opportunities. The prepaid phone suggests premeditation. He planned to lure Linda from her house using a traceable number. On February 3, 2019, James Patrick Donnelly is arrested at his workplace while repairing a broken sink. He offers no resistance, showing little emotion as Detective Morgan reads him his rights. During interrogation, Donnelly invokes his right to remain silent, but his lawyer eventually negotiates a plea agreement. In exchange for revealing Linda's location, Donnelly pleads guilty to second-degree murder, avoiding the death penalty. On March 15, 2019, he leads investigators to a remote area of Bernheim Arboretum and Research Forest, where Linda's remains are discovered in a shallow grave beneath years of fallen leaves and forest growth. The medical examiner determines Linda died from blunt force trauma to the head, likely within hours of her disappearance. She fought her attacker. DNA under her fingernails matches Donnelly's genetic profile. The evidence suggests Linda was killed when she tried to escape after being lured from her house. After 11 years and 8 months, Linda Lopez is finally coming home. Justice at last. The courtroom in Nelson County fills beyond capacity on April 22, 2019. Rosa Martinez, now 68 and walking with a cane, sits in the front row clutching a framed photograph of Linda. Miguel, now 22 and a college senior, holds his grandmother's hand as they face Linda's killer for the first time. Carmen Rodriguez sits behind them, tears streaming down her face as she sees the man who destroyed their family. James Patrick Donnelly, wearing an orange jumpsuit and shackles, shows no emotion as Judge William Patterson reads the charges: second-degree murder, kidnapping, stalking. The words echo through the courthouse like thunderclaps, finally giving a name to the evil that took Linda Lopez from her family. Prosecutor Jennifer Adams presents a methodical case built on forensic evidence, timeline analysis, and Donnelly's own documented obsession with Linda. The photographs hidden in his basement, displayed on large screens, show Linda going about her daily life, unaware she was being hunted. Several jurors gasp when they see images of Linda playing with Miguel in their backyard, taken just days before her murder. James Donnelly spent months stalking Linda Lopez. Prosecutor Adams tells the jury. He learned her routines, identified her vulnerabilities, and planned her abduction with calculated precision. On September 19, 2007, he executed that plan, luring Linda from her home with a phone call that terrified her enough to reach out for help. When she tried to escape, he killed her. Defense attorney Robert Mills attempts to portray Donnelly as mentally ill, arguing that his obsession with Linda was the result of untreated psychological disorders. But the premeditation evidence, the purchased phone, the months of surveillance, the carefully planned abduction, undermines any claim of diminished capacity. The most powerful testimony comes from Rosa Martinez. Taking the witness stand with dignity despite her grief, She speaks directly to the jury about Linda's life, her dreams, her love for her son. Linda wanted to be the best mother, the best teacher she could be, Rosa says, her voice steady despite tears. James Donnelly didn't just kill my daughter. He killed Miguel's future with his mother. He killed the hundreds of children Linda would have taught. He killed all the joy she would have brought to this world. Miguel follows his grandmother to the witness stand. Now a young man studying to become a teacher like his mother. He speaks about growing up without answers, about birthdays and graduations, where Linda's absence felt like a physical wound. I used to imagine she was living somewhere else, maybe with amnesia, maybe building a new life, he tells the court. It was easier than believing someone had murdered her. Now I know the truth, and while it's painful, it's also a relief. I can finally grieve properly. Carmen Rodriguez describes the Linda she knew, the friend who remembered everyone's birthday, who stayed up all night making costumes for the school play, who worried more about her students than herself. Linda saw the best in everyone, Carmen says. She probably saw good in James Donnelly too, which is why she opened that door. Her kindness was used against her. Donnelly's plea agreement means no trial, but Judge Patterson allows victim impact statements before sentencing. Teacher after teacher from Bardstown Elementary describes Linda's dedication, her creativity, her love for her students. Parents talk about how Linda helped their children overcome learning difficulties, how she made school a place of joy and discovery. The most heartbreaking moment comes when Miguel reads a letter he wrote to his mother. "Dear Mom," he begins, his voice barely audible. "I'm graduating from college next month. I wish you could be there. I'm studying education because of you. I want to teach children like you did, to give them the love and encouragement you showed your students. I forgive James Donnelly, not for his sake, but for mine. I won't let hatred poison the rest of my life." Judge Patterson sentences Donnelly to life in prison without the possibility of parole. "You stalked an innocent woman, murdered her in cold blood, and caused immeasurable suffering to her family and community," the judge states. "You will spend the rest of your natural life in prison, thinking about what you've done." As court officers lead Donnelly away, he finally shows emotion. Not remorse, but what appears to be relief. Perhaps the burden of carrying his secret for 11 years had become unbearable. Outside the courthouse, Rosa Martinez speaks to reporters for the final time about Linda's case. "Today justice was served," she says, holding Miguel close. "Linda can finally rest in peace, and we can begin to heal." But Linda's story isn't just about tragedy. It's about a community that never gave up, about advances in forensic science that give voice to the silent, and about the power of never losing hope. The Linda Lopez Missing Persons Foundation will continue its work, but now with a new mission, helping other families find the answers they desperately need. Lessons from the darkness. Linda Lopez was laid to rest on May 15, 2019 in Bardstown Cemetery, surrounded by hundreds of people whose lives she had touched. The elementary school planted a garden in her memory, where children learn about butterflies and growth, symbols of transformation and hope. Her classroom, empty for 12 years, was renamed the Linda Lopez Learning Center. The case changed how Kentucky handles missing persons investigations. The Linda Lopez Protocol, implemented statewide, requires immediate forensic processing of disappearance scenes and expedited analysis of evidence. The protocol has already helped solve 3 other missing persons cases, proving that Linda's legacy extends far beyond her own tragedy. Advances in forensic genealogy and digital enhancement technology that solved Linda's case are now standard tools for law enforcement. The FBI estimates that hundreds of cold cases could be solved using these methods, giving hope to families who have waited years for answers. Linda's case became a textbook example of how persistence and scientific advancement can triumph over time. James Donnelly's conviction sent shockwaves through the community. Neighbors remembered him as quiet and helpful, someone who fixed their appliances and cleared their sidewalks. The revelation that evil can hide behind such an ordinary facade reinforced the importance of trusting instincts and reporting suspicious behavior. Several residents admitted they had felt uncomfortable around Donnelly, but dismissed their feelings as unfounded. Miguel Lopez graduated magna cum laude from Eastern Kentucky University. With a degree in elementary education, he teaches third grade, the same grade his mother taught, at a school in Louisville. His classroom displays the same vibrant energy Linda brought to her students, proof that love and kindness can survive even the darkest tragedies. Rosa Martinez continues running the Linda Lopez Missing Persons Foundation from her Bardstown home. The organization has helped locate 7 missing persons and provided support to dozens of families. Linda's death was senseless and cruel, Rosa says, but if her story helps bring other missing loved ones home, then something good has come from our tragedy. The case highlighted the vulnerability of women living alone and working in public-facing jobs. Linda's story led to improved security protocols at schools and better training for recognizing stalking behavior. Her disappearance also demonstrated the importance of immediate response to missing persons reports. Every hour matters when someone vanishes. Perhaps most importantly, Linda's case proves that justice delayed is not always justice denied. 11 years passed between her disappearance and her killer's arrest, but advances in technology and the persistence of dedicated investigators brought truth to light. For families facing similar tragedies, Linda's story offers both heartbreak and hope. As we close this chapter on Linda Lopez's story, we remember not just how she died, but how she lived, as a devoted mother, an inspiring teacher, and a woman who brought light into the world. Her legacy lives on in the students she taught, the sons she raised, and the community that never forgot her. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe to our channel for more true crime investigations. Share this video to help spread awareness about missing persons cases and the importance of never giving up hope. Linda's voice has been silenced, but her story continues to speak for the voiceless. Next week we'll explore another case that shook a small community to its core. The mysterious disappearance of the Hensley family from their farm in rural Tennessee. 4 people vanished without a trace, leaving behind a dinner table still set for Sunday supper, and questions that haunted investigators for 2 decades. Until then, remember, justice may be delayed, but it should never be denied. Keep watching, keep questioning, and never stop fighting for the truth. In memory of Linda Maria Lopez, 1976-2007, beloved mother, dedicated teacher, and shining light taken too soon.